my husband left me, the part that hurt the most was that he didn't want anything to do with our son Braden. Braden was only 6 years old. He couldn't understand why Daddy stopped coming home after work. He was always asking when Daddy was going to play with him, and I never knew what to tell him. It just broke my heart. So when Braden's 7th birthday was coming up, I wanted to do something big for him. I decided to throw him a huge party at our house. I invited all his friends from school, rented a bouncy house, and even hired a Spider-Man actor to come and entertain the kids during the party. I had everything planned perfectly. Then on the day of the party, things went wrong. I was in the backyard decorating the tables and chairs with superhero-themed tablecloths and party favors when I got a notification from the Spider-Man actor that he had the flu and would not be able to make it to the party. I panicked. I frantically scrolled through Facebook looking for a last-minute replacement, but every performer I found was either booked up or too far away. I was about to give up when I saw a post for Cyril the Clown. Cyril the Clown's Facebook page was kind of bizarre. It was filled with low-effort, bad lighting photos of a middle-aged man dressed as a clown. His makeup was sloppy and his jumper looked like it was homemade from some old curtains. I didn't even see any kids or parties in any of the photos, just a clown doing awkward poses in his living room. But I was desperate, so I messaged him, and he replied that he would take the gig if I paid extra for short notice. Braden had never really shown any interest in clowns, and I wasn't sure about the looks of Cyril the Clown, but I figured a low-effort clown was better than nothing, so I booked him. The party was in full swing when Cyril the Clown arrived. The kids were all playing out back in the bouncy house when Cyril came around the side of the house carrying a plastic storage bin. He sat up in a shady spot under a tree, and the kids all cheered as Cyril laughed and joked in a nasally, high-pitched voice, and the kids gathered round as he began his show. He danced and sang and opened his storage bin, pulling out balloon animals, juggling balls, and magic tricks. I was in the kitchen preparing pizza and fruit punch while I watched Cyril's performance through the window. At one point in the middle of his act, Cyril saw me looking through the window, and when we made eye contact, he froze and stared at me. It was like I somehow broke his concentration, and he forgot what he was doing. It only lasted a few heartbeats, but it was weird. He then continued his performance, reaching into his storage bin and pulling out plastic kazoos. He passed the kazoos out to each child, which seemed like a nice gesture at first, but from that point on, all you could hear was a dozen kazoos buzzing all over the backyard as the kids played. I poured some fruit punch for myself and began preparing the birthday cake. And as I was doing so, I must not have heard the back door over the sound of the kazoos, because when I turned around to grab the napkins, Cyril was right there. I yelped and said, "Oh my God, you startled me." He said, "I'm sorry. I didn't mean to scare you." The weird thing was, he didn't sound like he was in character anymore when he said it. His silly high-pitched voice was gone, and now he had a deep, raspy voice like a heavy smoker. He stood there looking at me, and I wasn't sure what to say or do, so to break the silence, I said, "The show was great. The kids loved it." He said, "Yeah, I saw you looking at me through the window." I said, "Well, thank you for coming. Let me get my phone so I can pay you." I left the room to grab my phone. When I came back, I told him that I had just sent him his payment and that I hope he had a great day. He said, "You know, the kids had so much fun. I'm going to do another show for free." I said, "Really? No, you don't have to do that." And he said, "No, I insist. I've got a special magic trick planned." At this point, I just wanted him out of my kitchen, and the kids did love his show, so I said, "Okay, the magic will be fun." Then finally he left. I was cleaning the kitchen when the constant buzzing of the kazoos began to overwhelm me. It sounded like a swarm of cicadas, growing louder and louder. It felt as though the sound was making me dizzy and sleepy. My first thought was that maybe I was drunk, but I hadn't drank any alcohol that day. I smelled my punch, but it smelled fine. When I looked up from my cup, I happened to catch Cyril looking at me again through the window. There was a whole party going on around him. Kids running and screaming, other parents joking and having conversations. And there was Cyril in the midst of it. He was looking at me like I was the only thing in the world. I remember holding the cup, the softness of it. The world was growing softer as I could feel it folding in my hands. Then I hit the floor. I didn't completely pass out at first. Oddly enough, I think it was the hum of the kazoos that kept me from going under. I remember other things too. I remember understanding that I was on the kitchen floor, the side of my face cold against the kitchen tile. I remember it looked like I was looking down a long tunnel, the buzzing replaced with awkward footsteps. At the end of the tunnel, big red clown shoes were stomping past, followed by a shrill screeching sound, and then darkness. A slamming door startled me awake, and I tried to sit up. One of the other mothers from the party was crouched over me. She said, "Are you okay?" I don't know why, but I said, "Yeah, I think I fell." And as I sat up, I realized I was no longer in the kitchen. I was in the middle of the living room. And I remembered the clown shoes and the screeching sound, and somehow I understood that that screeching sound was the sound of my face sliding across the tile as I was being dragged into the living room. My first thought was Braden. I climbed to my feet and stumbled into the backyard. And once I saw he was safe playing with a friend in the bouncy house, I started looking for Cyril. "Where's the clown?" I said. One of the mothers said, "He left some time ago." I realized the party had already been over for a while. Many of the parents had already cleaned up and left, and Cyril was gone. I tried to piece together everything that happened. The only thing I could think was that Cyril the clown had put something in my punch. Whatever he used, I don't think it was enough to put me out for very long. But when I passed out, he went to work dragging me into another room. Fortunately, one of the other mothers came in and must have spooked him, and he bolted out the front door. The sound of the front door slamming was what woke me. I called the police and filed a report, but they basically told me that they can't press charges because there is no evidence of a crime. I planned to send my cup to a lab and have it tested for drugs, but I couldn't find my cup. I think Cyril must have taken it. I dug every cup out of the trash and spent hundreds of dollars of my own money to have them tested for drugs, and they all came back negative. Without any evidence, there is nothing I can do to Cyril the clown. He's still on Facebook offering his services, and there's nothing I can do about it. I only hope that he doesn't perform any more of his special magic tricks.